Hello and welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier and this is Jason, and we are back again with another podcast. Today we are actually going to be reviewing two films, Vivarium and The Platform. So those are the two movies that we just watched recently. Vivarium can be found on Amazon Prime, and then The Platform is actually on Netflix. So
Vivarium's not free. I'd like to add, it's not included with Amazon Prime or anything. You'd have to pay for it.
Yeah. So you got to shell out a few bucks, but based on whatever review we give, maybe it'll be worth it for you. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we think. All right. Well, kind of an interesting pairing for those two films in a way. So, you want to talk to us real briefly before we get into it about the just kind of the pairing of those two films, Jason?
Yeah. When we were talking about like what kind of new releases that we wanted to review, obviously the theaters aren't open, but the streaming platforms are regularly introducing new releases. So at first, when we were pairing, discussing new releases, we just had them kind of randomly paired up. Okay, let's just do these two and these two. And then it hit me that these two would be good in one show together because they're both kind of high concept Twilight Zone sort of stories. They're both, and I really gravitate toward that kind of stuff. I like Twilight Zone kind of stories that start with like a really interesting idea that you may have not thought of before, and then just kind of explores that. And there's usually kind of a moral, it's usually some kind of a parable. It's an analogy or a metaphor for something that's trying to make a point about something in real life in a kind of exaggerated way. So, and I was right. That both of these are very much, they could easily be Twilight Zone concepts for sure.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. So I think we're going to start with Vivarium, right?
Absolutely, man. Let's get into it.
Okay. All right. So Vivarium stars Jesse Eisenberg and Imogen Poots. It is. I didn't realize that it's actually a foreign film. It's a British production, British, Danish, Belgian production or something. But basically, they star as this a young couple who's looking for a house. They don't have any kids. I don't know if they're married or not, but they're looking for a house. So just kind of on a whim, they stop into this kind of bizarre real estate agency with a very, very bizarre real estate agent who kind of leads them into this housing area that automatically looks very strange. Every single house looks exactly the same. And then the real estate agent kind of disappears on them while they're looking in this house. And then they find out that they can't actually leave the housing area. And not only that, they seem to be the only human beings there. So I love that concept. I love both of the actors. But I can't say I loved the movie, unfortunately. I love I love the concept. It's like a really interesting premise. I love the performers. I like the first half. Like, it's really interesting the way it sets up this idea, and then it kind of sets up what's actually going on. Like, another thing with these two movies, it's going to be kind of hard to go into too much detail because we don't want to do spoilers. Mm-hmm. But I will just say, like, I was with it up until through the part where it's introduced and through the part where it's kind of developing, like, what's actually going on here. Like, is this a real place? Are they somewhere else? I was really into it all the way up until that part. But at some point, it just kind of flatlined for me. And I just, without getting into spoilers, I'll just say that, like, where it wound up, I didn't find it interesting the way it wrapped itself up. There is a punchline. There is a punchline to the setup. And it has nothing to do with the acting. Like, the acting is all good, but I didn't enjoy it, I guess you could say. So it just kind of it goes up. I was enjoying it, and then it just kind of levels off, and then it just kind of whimpers to an end, in my opinion. Without getting into spoilers, unfortunately. But that's what I would say. I would give it a uh, average rating, I guess you could say. So
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly thought you were gonna like it a little more than you did. I thought it was your kind of film than it was going to be mine.
I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost agree with you 100% on this one.
Okay.
You know, not that we never agree, but I almost agree exactly with what you're saying.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really interested in it at the very beginning, and it was kind of fun and funny a little bit at first, and you know, and then you know, and then it kind of got a little weird for me, and then it got like almost kind of like a labor of just getting through like whatever's going on, and I got to a certain point where like I kind of already knew kind of or figured what was most likely going to happen at the end at some point, you know, just based on what was going on with the characters in the film. And, you know, I was just kind of getting, I don't know, I kind of got a little uninterested, you know, at some point, you know, I kind of just felt,
I got bored.
You know, I didn't really care. Yeah. I didn't really care what happened, you know, and the characters, you know, especially Jesse Eisenberg's character kind of got a little bit more like, meaner and more cynical, and so I really didn't care what happened to his character at all, you know what I mean? And so it was just like it was like watching a movie where I don't really care for the characters that much anymore, and I'm just like I don't really care, you know, where the story's going or whatever the twist is going to be, and there really isn't, you know, a huge twist. I mean, you know, and I don't feel like even. Yeah, and I don't even know like exactly. I finished it not even understanding exactly what the purpose of it was. You know what I mean? Like it's like, and that was my biggest thing is there was no real purpose to it. And I'm just like, you know, it was like, well, why was this? What is the point of this? You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I kind of got a little like, you know, I mean, I guess like I can understand what they were trying to do, but I just don't like the way it was executed, I guess is my point. So.
Yeah, and like I'm not you know, I'm not the kind of person that needs like everything answered. You know,
yeah, I don't need it all wrapped up in a nice little bow either. You know what I mean? I don't need like, oh, this is why, but I still there are still way more questions than answers, and even the answers that the film gives you, you know, it still was like kind of a weak answer to my opinion. You know what I mean? It was like, so this is it. This is the whole purpose of this. Like, I don't understand what the purpose of that is. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much the same exact way.
Yeah. So
you know, without getting into spoilers again, I guess there is a twist, but like when it got to the end, I was like, you know.
And I kind of had figured by the end that that's what was going to happen because of the events that were leading up to that, you know what I mean, involving, you know, and this isn't a spoiler, there is a child of some sort, a child is involved in there, but the events that were leading up with the child, I kind of figured exactly what was going to happen by the time it was over, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, I can kind of guess what's going on here, but I don't know if I like it. So.
Right, yeah, and honestly, like when the child is introduced about halfway through, I would guess. That's kind of when it starts to go downhill. Honestly,
yeah, I agree. I
mean, I get the reason for it being there, but yeah,
it was funny because when I was watching it, there's a show with there's only one season. It's with Maya Rudolph and I think Fred Armisen or something like that, where they're like a couple that ends up kind of like in a house that they're like kind of stuck in, and they're like getting provided like food every day. I can't think of, it was a series. I think it was actually on Amazon. I can't think of the name of it. There was only one season of it though. But it was very, it reminded me a lot of that show at first. It reminded me a lot of that show because it was kind of similar. They were like kind of stuck in this house, and you know, they could leave out of the house, but they really couldn't go anywhere per se and that kind of stuff. So I thought it was going to be similar to that, but then it just kind of just took a turn somewhere else. And I didn't care for that part of it. So,
yeah, I vaguely remember that show, and I vaguely remember wanting to watch it, but then I forgot about it. I think, did you forget to put up the poster?
I did. So let's show that now. So
yeah.
Now that we're done talking about the film. Yeah, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Vivarium. Now that we're done talking about it, the show is right there. I guess because we just got into it and I didn't think about it.
I mean, good poster.
That's the poster.
Good poster.
Yeah.
Good cast. Good concept.
Yeah.
Good first half. So
yeah. So it's not a spoiler to say that there's a kid in there, but because he's in the cover. So, but
Right.
but yeah. So yeah, it had the premise of being something really fun and really interesting, and it just kind of took a turn that made it kind of, I don't know, a little more boring in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
cool.
We're in total agreement.
All right.
For the most part. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
all right.
I guess we're moving on to the platform.
Yes.
Who wants to synopsize this one?
I guess I can do it. I mean,
Okay.
There's no real stars in there, so but it's another foreign film actually.
Yeah.
They dubbed this one, I'm assuming, right?
Dubbed? No,
Did they dub it?
Subtitled.
Oh, the one I saw was dubbed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they were speaking in English when I saw it on Netflix.
Oh. Well, yeah. you gotta fix your settings then, man.
Yeah.
Dubbing,
no, it
dubbing
was
sucks. Dubbing sucks.
Yeah, it was the one I had was dubbed. So so we
work with those settings.
I don't know if that changes my opinion. The platform is basically, it's a foreign film. It's basically about a prison where there's two people on every single floor, and there's basically literally a platform that goes from basically the top floor all the way down to the bottom floor of food. So basically, if you're at the very top of the platform, there is like a spread of basically any kind of food that anybody in the prison would have wanted or desired. It could be, escargot, it could be lobster, it could be a giant chocolate cake, it could be fondue, it could be anything. And the food looks really, really good in the beginning, of course.
Well, yeah.
The problem is that as it goes, people eat what they want to eat, and as it goes down each floor, there's less and less food. And at some point, depending on what floor you're at, like let's say if you're floor number 1, you're probably doing pretty good. Mm-hmm. If you're floor number 50, you're eating probably leftover food that someone else has already eaten, basically.
Yeah, slobbered over and just gross.
Yeah, or picked over or decided they didn't like and put it back. But you're basically eating food that has already been eaten off of, and there's also carcasses and that sort of stuff from whatever they've been eating still on the platform that's coming down. Mm-hmm. And then obviously as the floor gets lower, there's less and less food to be had. So if you're down towards the bottom, you may not be eating for quite some time. And the interesting part about the film is that I think it's every month or something like that. Every month. Yeah. Every month. All the prisoners are put to sleep, and then they wake up and they're at a different floor. Sometimes you're higher, sometimes you're lower, and you have no clue. So you could wake up, you could be on the top floor one day or be near the top, be at like floor number 8, which would probably be pretty good because you're probably getting a pretty good meal. You could wake up the next day and be down at floor, 70, you know what I mean? And you might not be getting anything, you know what I mean?
Or 132.
Or 132. And that's one of the things about the film is that you don't even know how many floors it goes down. So you don't even know how far it goes down to. You don't know what the very bottom is, so I can only imagine the people at the very bottom, you know what I mean? Like, what are they eating off of? And then that's where kind of like it gets into, I don't want to get into too much of what's going on, but, obviously imagine 2 people stuck in a cell with no food for a month. You could kind of make your own determination what's probably going to end up happening. But yeah, I found it to be interesting. It was a simple film, because there's not a whole lot of, other than trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I enjoyed probably the first 2/3 quite a bit. The last little bit of it, I was a little less interested in, and didn't really understand the full motive of the main character, who was, he did some things at the very end of the film where I was like, you're going to be leaving soon. Why would you, opt to do this? So there were some motive things that I was a little concerned about or had some issues with. But overall, I didn't think it was a bad film. I enjoyed it. I would say it was a decent film overall, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So your thoughts?
Oh, I just watched this today and I really liked it. I really liked it a lot. It reminded me, actually, both movies. Another good reason why this was a good pairing. Both movies remind me of Cube, which we just talked about for the 1997 list. Especially this one. This one is like very, very reminiscent of Cube. Anybody who likes Cube, should check this movie out. And also on top of that, it also reminded me of another movie that I like a lot, which is Snowpiercer, except it's obviously it's not even subtle. It's a very, very, very obvious like metaphor about like class.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And it is much like Snowpiercer, except where Snowpiercer, it's arranged, the hierarchy is arranged horizontally in a train. This is arranged vertically in like a giant prison where the people at the bottom obviously get less. And it's blunt, it's not subtle, but it's also pretty good. It's a pretty good metaphor, really, about how the people at the top don't have much to lose, so they don't care, and the people at the bottom are left to fight over the scraps. Exactly. And it's pretty blunt, but I think it works really well. It's unpredictable. It's suspenseful. It's got a really cool look to it. Also, like Cube, it's like a very like high concept, but it's something that you can depict with fairly limited special effects, but still convincing. Convincing special effects. And it's I'm a big horror fan, so it's a very, very violent movie. It's definitely not for anybody with a weak stomach, because like you hinted at, there's all kinds of there's cannibalism and murder and suicide, because some people just can't take it and just jump straight down the hole that goes through every floor. But I really enjoyed it. You have to kind of like accept the non-realistic, I was thinking like what mechanism is this thing levitating down?
Yeah, because it kind of just there's no cables or anything in it. It kind of just floats on its own. And the other thing that they didn't really quite explain, that it didn't bother me that much, but I had a little bit of a slight gripe with it, is they didn't really explain how they knew what, if the platform was going down to the next level and you decided you wanted to keep an apple, the platform somehow knew that you kept that apple, but I didn't see anybody that was watching to say how that was even possible. So it didn't really make any sense to me that they would know that, because I'm like, well, if you're eating food off of that, it's not a weight issue, so they don't know how much you've eaten. So I don't understand how they would know that you kept an apple. So I had a little bit of a small gripe with that.
Go ahead, sorry.
They didn't really fully explain like how that was possible.
No, I get that, but it's science fiction. The whole thing it's meant to be a metaphor. So I can kind of suspend my disbelief when it comes to that kind of stuff. Plus, I just thought like the platform looked really cool the way it floated like that. So I didn't mind that so much. I didn't think it was perfect. I think without getting into spoilers, I think I did enjoy the part of the film, the section of the film that you're talking about. I like the ending too, but at the same time, I wanted just like a little bit more at the end there. Just, I don't know what I wanted really, but I just wanted something extra at the end. But in general, this is a really interesting movie. I'm looking forward to watching it again sometime. Cool. But I really like this. It was definitely, I definitely preferred it to Vivarium.
I'll say it was better than Vivarium. I don't know that I would necessarily rewatch either one of them again. If I had to, I'd watch the platform over Vivarium for sure.
Well, you should watch it because you should watch it again because you watched a dubbed version, which is like, how did that even happen?
It's still good. You don't even notice it after like 2 minutes into it. So it's not like we haven't watched dub films that we loved. So there's been tons. But yeah, no, I like I said, I didn't hate it by any means or anything like that. I overall it was decent. There was just, I had a few minor flaws, and the other thing that was weird about it was like half the people that were in that prison volunteered to be there. You know what I mean? Like it was like,
but in exchange for something.
I don't. Yeah, that was kind of strange too. I don't know. So, and then I don't know. I had one of the people in there, not to give a spoiler. She was an administrator that volunteered to be in there, and like, you can bring any item that you want. And I'm like, why would you choose that item to bring with you in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, so that was another thing like that didn't quite make sense. Like knowing what that place is about and knowing generally what happens there, why would you even suggest? Why would you do that? And like, I don't know. So there were just certain things that I definitely had little small issues with, but overall, it wasn't a bad film. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get this bad boy out of the way. So going back to Vivarium, what is your overall grade and face you would give it? So.
I gave it 2.5 out of 5. It's a C for me. So I would give it this face. Just kind of unengaged, no emotion, really. Just kind of like not angry, not sad, just kind of like, eh.
Yeah.
How about you?
I'd give it just a little bit less. I'd give it a 2 stars out of 5, and I would give it this face, which is pretty much just a straight face, probably the same face I'm giving you right now. Not happy, not super upset. I can't say that I was bored necessarily. I wasn't.
Yeah.
There were parts of it where I was like, it felt like just okay, come on, let's figure out what's going on here. But I was never really bored enough. It still had my interest enough to where I wasn't bored, but I was definitely starting to like it less and less as the film wore on. So,
yeah. Yep.
And then switching over to the platform. Your grade and your face.
yeah. I gave the platform a 4 out of 5, solid B+ for me. So I give it this face. Happy face. Good movie face. I like movies, so good movies make me happy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave the platform a 3 out of 5, so which is pretty good, and I gave it this face, which is a smiley face with no teeth showing. So,
all right.
So overall, I liked it, but I'm probably not revisiting it again, most likely. So, and it's also the kind of film that, like, I don't know, I feel like you might have to really like it to even want to see it again, because it's kind of gory in a lot of parts and that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't know, it's like one of those films where, like, yeah, I get it, and overall I liked it, but it's not really one that I'll probably watch again personally. So, but yeah, no, nothing wrong with that. It was great. Great. Well, that was fun. So yeah, anything else you wanted to add about those other two films?
No, I think it was a good pairing. They both could easily have been Twilight Zone episodes, and they both reminded me of Cube. So it was a good double feature, I think.
I agree.
Well, I mean,
it was definitely
one of them could have been a little better, but otherwise it was a good pairing.
No, I think it was a great idea on the pairing. I can't guarantee that we're always going to have pairings that are going to be like, 2 Twilight films, 2 action films, 2 horror, or anything like that. But but for this, I think it worked. So for sure,
just worked out.
Yeah, it just worked out. So. Well, great. Well, we will get to you another show real soon. We'll finalize a few more shows for you. I know we have a couple more list shows coming up. I think our next one that we're going to have coming up soon will be our 1998 top 10 films of 1998. I think that'll be the next one that we'll start working on, and then hopefully we can watch some new movies coming out over the weekend as well, and then get another show for that also. I know there's a couple of ones that we already kind of talked about offline that we can watch. And then I think we should be good to go. So once again, thanks for watching our channel and continue to support us. And please go ahead and hit subscribe and hit the bell notification there as well, so you can get notifications whenever we post or upload a new video. And we'll be talking with you guys real soon. Thanks so much for watching.
All right, thanks.
Bye.